Hello everyone. Well, you're hearing that Ren and Stimpy jingle, which means that, yep, this episode has some technical difficulties. I don't know what happened, but the audio levels are just all sorts of wonky. No amount of leveling and compressing and amplifying could completely fix whatever was borked in this episode. I honestly don't know what happened. I've tweaked some settings, and hopefully it won't happen again. I have failed the city, and I apologize. But hopefully you stick through the entire episode, because it's a really good one, and I think that we have a lot of fun with it, and it's worth listening to, even if it's a little rough on the ears here and there. So without further ado, enjoy the episode. This week on NWP, I don't know, we're back. It's a new year or something. Hello everyone, and welcome to Nerds Without Pants, episode 79, the first episode of 2016, the first of many. I am Julian. I am joined, as always, by Patrick.
Oh man, haven't you already read, top 10 lists of the next year yet?
It's getting to that point. Top 10 stuff of 2017. And that would be Angelo.
Who is done with top 10 lists. And doesn't want to read or see another one ever.
Clickbait.
I'm actually getting just kind of done with reading things on the internet, to be perfectly honest. Have you
Fair
noticed
enough.
that lately a lot of it is just hey, time advances, and it's really crazy. That's the gist of so many articles that I see these days. It's hey, look at this cast of so-and-so 10 years later. And it's yeah, what you're telling me is that people age.
Yeah, it's
Alrighty.
always that, or this person did this, and this is why it's important.
Or people just being contrarian because it gets attention and, you know. Look, this is why this is the number one game of the year, and if you don't think so, you're an idiot, and here's why, and stop talking.
Yeah, that pixel bit top games and that bullshit.
I don't think people got the joke.
No, it was the best troll ever, though. It really was.
Dude, how could you not put Saints Row the 4th, the DLC, on the top 5?
No, well, I wasn't putting the DLC, it was specifically the re-release of Saints Row 4 that comes with that DLC that I put on that list, because Saints Row 4 is fantastic, and once you eliminate, a lot of the, problems that were inherent with, the 360 version because it couldn't hack it, it's even a much better game, because I gave it 3.5 stars, I think, originally, and I would easily give that a 4.5 on the PS4 because it runs so much better, and it's still super fun. The only reason that I didn't finish it the second time around is because my memory, my save date is gone. But I had sunk another 15 hours out of the 25 that game is, without even thinking about it.
I am actually excited for one HD re-release, that's coming this year. Just one, though.
Is it that big Odin Sphere one?
Odin Sphere, yeah. Dude, it's going to be so gorgeous.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Okay, so Vanillaware games are good. They're great games on their own, but they really are about, the looks. They're pretty.
Yeah.
And a lot of the marketing is about, look how pretty they are. And I mean, you know what you're getting. This isn't a surprise. But, when it came out on PS2, it had slowdown. I had issues. Everything looks so pretty in the HD version. So
Plus that collector's edition is nice.
It is. That's why I pre-ordered it, which is another thing that I don't do too much anymore, but I did pre-order that.
I'm probably going to be doing more of that because apparently Amazon is going to be doing 20% discounts for pre-orders.
Yeah. Between that and Dell.com, I'm pre-ordering every game because otherwise, it's just as good as waiting 6 months now.
Unless that's how long you have to wait for the day one patch that fixes everything.
Well, that's everything, though.
I mean, wait, 6 months for a day one patch doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. We know what you meant.
Yeah.
Continuing the troll. But we're not going to troll too much on this podcast because we try to keep it light and positive on this podcast. We are going to talk about stuff that we got up to, like, over the break. 'Cause we've actually, we should have been back last week, but there were some scheduling conflicts, so I think this will just be our new schedule moving forward. So it should be every 2 weeks from the time you're listening to this one, if everything goes to plan. Patrick's back in school, and then we were like I was traveling, so like I could have recorded last week, but I would have been, even less entertaining than I normally am. So it probably would not have been a great show. Hopefully this one will be. But let's see. Well, okay.
You got your Deadpool shirt on. You're in full fanboy mode right now. How can it not be a good show?
Well, tonight, yeah, but last week would have been a different story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was hella jet lagged. Let's just do it. Let's just get it out of the way. It's Christmas has come and gone, which means that Angelo got another buttload of stuff from his wife. No. So just go ahead, just get it out of the way.
It's not just my wife, it's my wife and my kids and my family too. It's a whole bunch of people that are all treating me like I love it. So, let's see. So if I went through and went in like detail, it would take a while, but I'll just do it this way. All 3 Xenosaga games.
What? Really?
Yep.
Sorry, we were literally talking about Xenosaga before.
Oh my god, why did I even bring that up?
And I sat on it because I was just like, this is going to be so much fun when I drop this on them. So here's all 3 of them.
I'm just curious, do you know how much those run for these days? Because I have them all, but I don't even pay attention.
The one that I think is the hardest one to get a hold of is, oddly enough, the middle chapter.
Interesting.
I would have
and
I'm a little nervous about that one because my copy's sealed.
Oh.
So I don't know. I have to look into that. The price might have gone down. I don't know about that yet.
Yeah.
Another one, Angelo, that I saw had gone up in price was the original cover for $9.99. I was trying to buy it for 3DS, and it's like double the price if you got the original cover.
I don't have the original cover of that, and it's just a cover. In fact, you probably want... So here's the deal. If you plan on playing the series, which you should, you actually want the second version because they made a couple of... They retconned some extremely, extremely minor stuff, but it will flow better when you play that and then the next game.
You know what game doesn't flow is the game that you got for Christmas.
What? Oh, Xenosaga? Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, though. I mean, they look like fun games.
Yeah, I have really fond memories of Xenosaga 1, but then 2, for some reason, didn't it didn't hold on to me. I played it for about 10 hours, but I still want to go back and finish that series because, like what I was saying before we recorded, was that storyline-wise, like, I put it up there with, like, Evangelion as far as, like, anime stories go. Like, it's really phenomenal.
And, like, that's
really
my favorite story for anime, too. So I was asking these guys, like, should I get Xenogears? Because it's one of the games that's a PlayStation Essential. And it's a game that I've, been a proponent of for many years, but never played. Like, I've got the original Xenosaga, played some of that, liked it, thinking that now's the time, but there is no trophy support, so it's just getting into a big thing for nothing, really. And I've just leveled up today, guys. I leveled up today. New year, new me. I'm level 15. Shit's going down.
Level 15 for trophies, to be...
Get over your trophies, son.
I've turned 15 today. That's a big deal. Once you get that high, you only turn a new level like once a year.
Yeah, because I've seen you at 14 for like a really long time. So yeah.
I don't even know what level I'm at. I don't even care. Really, the reason
you have to play your PlayStation to actually get trophies, which you don't.
I know. I am playing it. I can tell you what I'm playing when we're done. But my wife bought me the Xenosaga games mostly because when I was explaining to her like what they were, I said there's a lot of story. So the whole idea, she bought me games that she would like to enjoy sitting and watching me play. And I was like, hey, this is a good one for that.
Yeah,
like it's real story intense. And
if you're going to start Xenosaga with her, just let her know, and you should know also that it's basically like watching an hour-and-a-half movie before you even touch the analog stick. So
sure.
Keep that in mind.
I'll do that, and then when I get in a dungeon, I'll be like, all right, go play. I don't know what she's playing these days. Probably still Candy Crush. But
9,000 hours into
just
Dragon
clicker
Quest
games. Got the Resistance collection.
I've never played any of the Resistance games.
I played
really?
the first one. Not all of it, but most of it. And I thought it was cool. I just, I also had an Xbox 360, so I was like, well, this is kind of like the PlayStation Halo, and Halo is better. But now that I'm done with the Halo games, it's like, well, let me see what the Resistance games are like.
Yeah.
And the theme is different, and like the time is different, and the placement's different, and
Insomniac makes really cool weapons.
Insomniac makes pretty cool games, so I'm gonna, I kind of trust them on that.
We're just gonna get the remake of Ratchet and Clank in a couple months here.
The Infamous Collection as well.
Nice.
Oh, and that just went on sale today too.
Yeah, I get the physical version though, with PlayStation Move support, which no.
Man, Infamous 2 is so good.
With PlayStation Move, it's so good.
But does Second Son even have Move support? I think they started taking it out of games, didn't they?
It's funny. They started taking it out of games, but now that the VR is becoming a thing, I actually feel like the Move stuff is going to be like kind of crucial.
Yeah. And now we've got the price for Project Morpheus. I think that it's good. PlayStation sat on it because.
What do you mean for Oculus?
Yeah.
Here's one that I've been looking forward to playing for a while: 3D Game Heroes.
Yeah, I have that one. I wish I'd played more of it.
Yeah, I want to play that.
It's like voxel Zelda, which is...
It's super charming.
Good, I like charming.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I want something charming. And then I want something dark and gritty.
That one.
You gotta experience the full palette, the full range, the full spectrum of flavor that video games offers. So,
Are you saying that you got Bloodborne also?
I did not get Bloodborne, no. But you'll appreciate what I got next. Alan Wake.
Oh, finally.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this too. I don't think this game never struck me so much as scary as it did like, wow, that's like cool. Stephen King with maybe some maybe a little bit of like neck bristle stuff, but nothing like outright terrifying.
No, yeah, it's the narrative and it's the character, and honestly, like some of the gameplay parts get like annoying because, and I'll talk about that a little bit later when I talk about Tomb Raider. But like the narrative, it like pulls me through. And honestly, like there's two games that I already own that I wish that I could get the collector's editions for. It's like my bucket list games. It's the collector's edition of Mass Effect 1, which goes for like $250 these days, and the collector's edition of Alan Wake because I want that soundtrack. Because the soundtrack to Alan Wake is so good.
Yeah. As far as games that will scare me. Oh, what's up, Patrick?
That's just one of the 3 games that make me actually reluctant to not have like an Xbox system. Ever since the days when I went to GDC and there's a pub we were at, and there was this contest where people had to make up their own like enemies for video games, and like the winner got Alan Wake Collector's Edition. And yeah, well, it was. I didn't enter the contest because I was like, I don't even have an Xbox, but I was like, damn, I wish I did because I could go and get that thing. And the guy who did it was like a guy I knew, and he was holding it like it was a new birthday present. All right.
Yeah. However, this game will terrify me. Alien Isolation. This game will scare the crap out of me. I know it will.
Yeah, that's almost cruel, knowing you.
It is, and it was my oldest son picked it out because he knows me, which is both thoughtful and boy, I want to slap you. But I will definitely play that. That looks really good.
It's hot on the heels of changing the new Alien movie to actually an Alien title.
Oh,
Prometheus.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. That movie's so frustrating.
I like Prometheus, but
I did too, but it's so frustrating.
I mean, Michael Fassbender's in it. Come on.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Are you still sifting through stuff, Angelo?
I am.
Holy
crap! Scott, man.
Shadow of Mordor.
Oh, okay.
Which is happening.
That
for sure.
better happen. That game. Oh my goodness. I want to hear stories about your nemesis.
I'm a Lord of the Rings guy, so this is going to be okay. That games in here that I want to get to playing. Metro Redux, which is the both Metro games in HD on PS4. Really want to play it. Probably going to the backlog though, just because of this other stuff, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because at some point you have to make those concessions. And I'll just bring these up here.
Yeah, Shadow of Mordor, I think I put like 35 hours into. So
I believe it. Let's see. Some PlayStation 2 games that I got. Gungrave Overdose, which I've heard is great.
Oh.
I've heard this game is real good.
The weapon kind of reminds me of like Bloodborne because it's like a big coffin, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. It's got a really big, heavy, like you have to throw it hard vibe. Like it's been a long time.
It looks ridiculous. It looks like a typical anime ridiculous huge weapon.
Yeah. I remember the first game.
Yeah.
Slightly. Yeah.
I don't have the first one. I haven't played the first one, and I've heard just skip it and play this one. So
interesting.
Battle Engine Aquila.
Huh. They were just talking about that on the Beastcast.
Isn't that funny?
It's funny because I could picture the name, but I couldn't quite picture the case. And now that you show it to me, even though
now you picture it.
Audio podcast, it's like, oh yeah, that used to sit on our shelf all the time. We never sold any.
Really? I heard it was really good.
Well, it was just one of those things. It was like an Atari published game, and like, I mean, if you look at the case, I mean, it's kind of a boring image. And,
it is.
When you think about like the PS2 library, when you've got all those games sitting on a shelf, like hundreds of games, it just kind of, fades into the background.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever even saw it demoed.
Yeah. Okami, which good game. Beautiful music too. I mean, if you haven't heard the soundtrack to this yet, I've been listening to a lot of it lately just because I've been hunting it around on like YouTube just to get a good listen for it. Real great music.
Angelo, that game is like a legend in my life. And you know why? I own it, but soon after I played the first chapter, it disappeared completely, and I don't know where it went. And like ever since, I've really wanted to finish that game and loved it, but never bought it again. Like it's one of those games that I really need to get at some point, and have been like really close to getting 10 times, like that, Miramasa, those kind of things.
Miramasa's fantastic. It's Vanillaware. I'm Vanillaware fanboy. Sorry. I am. Let's see. What else did I get? The first Dark Cloud. I'm going to pick up the second one because I heard that the second one is really, really good, but the first one's pretty good too. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. It's fine.
And
it's one of those things when they announced like the first batch of like PS2 for PS4 games, and they said Dark Cloud 1. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Two of the Shadow Hearts games, but here's the problem. It's Shadow Hearts Covenant.
No, you got the best one.
I got Shadow Hearts Covenant.
Yeah, that's the best one.
And Shadow Hearts from the New World.
That's the one you don't want.
Well, also the one that's just called straight up Shadow Hearts is missing, which I think might be important for story continuity.
No.
Really?
No.
Just watch
is it like the way Kudelka kind of played into this, or?
I mean, there's similarities, but and it's been a while, but like for me, Shadow Hearts, I think the main character is the same. Yui, the dude in the coat. Like I think he's the same character from Shadow Hearts 1 to Covenant, but really it's more of the setting, that it takes place like I think it's like in the 40s. And it's got that gothic horror thing to it. Like that's really all you need.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, like because Shadow Hearts 1 was like trying to be like a real serious kind of scary RPG, and then the second one gets goofy, but it's still got some messed up stuff in it.
The scary serious RPG was Kudelka, wasn't it?
Well, no. Shadow Hearts was pretty, pretty serious too.
I thought Kudelka was all right. It was weird.
Yeah, Kudelka was all right. It was more of just like, the like trying to do random battles with a turn-based like strategy RPG thing.
Yeah,
like it kind of wore on me after a while. But Covenant.
That was Kudelka, yeah.
Yeah, like Shadow Hearts Covenant, like you've got like I don't know, there's just some weird stuff in there. Like one of your characters is a vampiric pro wrestler.
Dude, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not, it's silly. Like he turns into a golden bat. Like there's some silly stuff in that game. But it's
if you're
really
trying
good.
to not sell me on this game,
Wow.
you're doing a terrible job.
No, I'm not. I'm telling you that Covenant is the best one in the series. I'm just
you're
saying
talking about
that,
Covenant.
Yeah, I'm just saying
okay.
thematically, like it gets silly compared to the first game.
Gotcha.
But not in a bad way.
Thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you have one character who's a ventriloquist, and he has these, like, his weapons are these dolls. And in order to upgrade the dolls, you go to these flamboyantly gay guys who do, like, the costumes for the doll. I think it's just one doll. But in order to get their creative juices flowing, you have to give them these cheesecake cards of, like, half-naked dudes. And you find the cards around the world, you give it to the guy, and he's like, "Oh yes, I can feel," stuff. And then he like makes a really nice dress for the doll. It's a weird.
That is
game.
hilarious.
It sounds like everybody's Teddy
Amazing.
from Persona 4 in different ways in that game.
This predates Persona 4, though.
Oh wow.
Yeah, by quite a while. But
Significantly.
then I couldn't even. I played a little bit of the third one, and I was like, You're playing as a kid with a yo-yo. Nope.
There's one game that can get away with that. Star Tropics. That's it. That's the only game I will play that stars a kid with a yo-yo.
I'll give you that.
Okay. Yeah. You better.
Wait. Does Ness
And the
have
last
a yo-yo?
This is the last one. I got the expansion for Terra Mystica as well, but that I'm not.
Oh,
I mean,
real quick, speaking of expansions, Angelo,
Hmm.
while it's, because I just have this sinking feeling that things are going to start disappearing from Xbox Live, go ahead and pick up the 2 DLC chapters for Alan Wake while you can.
Oh, okay.
Because one of them, the first one is okay, but the second one is incredible.
All right. I will do that. But I got a physical version of the first Mega Man Legends,
Oh hell yeah.
which makes me very happy. I'm a huge Mega Man fan.
I am too. I like Mega Man. The
You
actual
got a Mega Man shirt on.
Everybody's been talking about Mega Man Legends, and I mean,
Yeah.
I understand the controls are janky. I totally understand that. I'll deal.
I don't know. For me personally, I just also didn't like the world or any of it. I don't know.
Here's the thing.
Don't listen to me because I'm like the only person in the world who doesn't like that game.
Well, no, here's the thing. I was with you when the game came out. So what happened is the game came out. A friend of mine owned it. I borrowed it from him, and I played it I tried to play it a few times, and I'm like, dude, this is not Mega Man. Do not want. And then just like hindsight, I'm like, okay, I can go back to this. Maybe not treat Mega Man as like this precious thing because it's a video game and whatever. I don't know.
It hasn't been precious in a long time.
Right? So now it's just like, dude, it's just, I don't care. It's Mega Man. Let me play it. Like that kind of thing. And then, let's see here. So I mentioned the expansion and the shirt, which is cool. It's a Mega Man t-shirt.
Ooh, so it's similar to Mega Man speak, but like with the coming year and everything, how do you guys feel about Mighty Number 9?
Cautiously optimistic, but not. Yeah, cautiously optimistic.
I'm interested. I'm glad. In hindsight, I'm glad that I pulled my money from it because at the time I had backed it, but then before the Kickstarter finished, I had to pull out because I couldn't afford it at the time. And considering how long it's been and what I've seen of the game, it doesn't look like a game that it doesn't look like what I want. But at the same time, like, it's a game that if I find it on sale or it ends up free on PS Plus, I'll go ahead and play it. But it's not what I've seen. I don't know. It's a weird one. Like, like what's the Koji Igarashi one? I don't even remember the name. I funded it. Crimson Tears. Crimson.
Are you talking about the Castlevania one?
Yeah.
I know this.
Bloody something. I don't remember. Whatever. Like, I haven't been paying attention to any of the updates because I'm like, I spent $100 on it. Like, one of these days, hopefully, like, there will be a disc sent to me and I'll be like, oh, cool, it's that thing that I funded 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Cool. But, I'm a little more confident in that one just because, well, I think I said this at the beginning, like, there are far fewer, like, of those Castlevania style games from him than there are Mega Man style games from Inafune. So it's like, I want more of that before I get more of the Mega Man style. So that's kind of where I'm at with there. But you know, I'll try it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really want to get into it right now. I have some issues with a lot of different things around it, but at the same time, it's something I backed. It's something I'm still curious about, and I hope it turns out well. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Mega Man, for anybody who's been gaming a long time, which is all three of us, has been a classic franchise since like our early days of gaming. So it's always like worthwhile to talk about something that's similar to it or from somebody who created it.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like the next evolution of it, and it's like the first hardcore game that I beat and many people beat and made you feel like you accomplished something. So like, I'm hoping that it, gives you that sense of like wonder again, but it doesn't seem like it.
Well, I think I'd be more excited if I didn't have Shovel Knight, because Shovel Knight definitely scratches that itch. So
speaking of Shovel Knight.
Oh yes, I saw this on your Twitter.
Yes.
You got your first amiibo.
I got my first amiibo, the Shovel Knight amiibo. It's awesome.
Have you heard about what it does?
Yeah, it unlocks the co-op mode in the game if you hit on the Wii U.
No, it does way more than that.
What else does it do?
It unlocks the mode where Shovel Knight actually gains experience instead of getting gold, and he learns more abilities through the course of the game. Like, it's a completely different way of playing the game.
That's so much.
Why is that not advertised on the box?
I don't know. I would just listen to a podcast with the Yacht Club guys on there. And, that's what they're like. It adds some really cool stuff to that game.
They sound fluent.
It says, customize your gear and take on exclusive challenge stages in Wii U and Nintendo 3DS. And then it says, play together.
The customize your gear part
using Amiibo. It doesn't say anything about an experience system.
The customize your gear is part of that. Because there's also like tons and tons of different ways to make Shovel Knight look.
Oh my gosh. Look right underneath it. Right, it says level up and unlock new powers in a logo underneath it. It's offset. That's why I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
I need that. I don't even have it on Wii U, but I just want that amiibo.
But that's something that I picked up. This wasn't part of my Christmas stuff. Another thing I picked up was Xenoblade Chronicles, which I'll talk about these when I play them, because this I'm going to play probably soon too. Picked up.
I'm sorry. You just casually said that. Oh yeah, this 100-hour game. I'm gonna play this soon.
I don't know when I'm gonna play it actually, because you mentioned a 100-hour game, and I'm just like, I'm not ready for that at the moment.
Might be next year.
God, I better play it. I want to play it.
I do too. There's lots of things that I want to play, but
I know.
I'll get into that later.
Yeah.
You gotta do that instead of have like a vacation or something like that. Like, instead of going to Colorado or, New Mexico or something hot, I went and played Persona 4 for 75 hours.
Yeah, that's what I'd wanted to do over like the Christmas breaks. I wanted to just stay at home and play video games, but my girlfriend wanted to see her family, so we went to do that. So, yeah, it's funny, Patrick. You told me that. You texted me that you'd put 75 hours into Persona 4, and that unsold me on Persona 4. I was like, that is so long. That's so long.
Well,
does it feel that long, though? That's really the issue.
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Well, that's a good thing.
Especially if you pick like the right option, and then you get a multiplier bonus for your social link or something like that, and then your social links rank up and you get like different perks in battle, and it makes the battle so much easier. Like, it feels like you know so much because you can talk to people the right way, and I like that feeling. It scratches an itch that you never get anywhere else. And like in other games, whereas like the 75 hours might mean 75 hours of like having to restart and keep going through it, like half that time was like I didn't have to think about redoing unless I wanted to do it perfectly and get like all the trophies, which I don't want to do the first time through. That wouldn't make it fun at all. Like, the only thing I did do was look at I think Julian, you said to do this, look at the answers to different quiz questions. So,
oh no, that wasn't me, because I don't know anything about quiz questions.
I thought we were talking about it on one of these episodes, and somebody said to use the manual or something like that, because it makes the whole game a lot easier. Like, not easier, but like it makes it less frustrating when you don't have to remember a 4th century poet in Japanese culture or something like that. Like, there's a couple of like famous stories or legends that you just wouldn't know because we're not in the same culture, but since you use that, you're not at a disadvantage. And then I don't use it for something like, you know, a review, or you have like reviews where they ask you questions, and then they rank you against the other students, and you get, I don't know, different points for that. But then the main game is really where it shines, where you get like different personas and you fuse them together to make new ones, and it's basically like a mature rated Pokemon game, where instead of Pokemon, you have like these demons that you get to have different cards of and make new ones of, and there's like a never ending fusion spree that you can go on, and the only thing that's bad about it is the dungeons, and the dungeons are randomly generated hallways, which suck, but like you just power through those, and then you get a great story, which I actually predicted who the killer was at the very beginning, and I could give a...
No, we're not spoiling.
No, I'm not going to spoil it. Like, I don't even want to give a hint as to why, because then it'll be obvious, but like, there's one thing I saw very early on that made me think, it has to be him. And then it is. Like, because it's just... I like that I found that out, but I also wish I had an option to pick, like, hey, it's that guy, like, right away.
Yeah.
But
well, like 75 hours, Patrick. Like, is that 75 hours because you're doing a bunch of side stuff, or is that 75 hours because the game is just that damn long?
Well, I'm playing it on hard, and I got to do some leveling up, but the game is that damn long.
Man, that
I think it's probably you could get through in 60, maybe on easy, but that's like if you beat things quick and you don't read all the dialogue slowly like I do.
Yeah, I felt this way for a long time now, where like with RPGs in particular, like I'm good with like a 40-hour game. And then if you want to give me like another like 20 hours of bonus content, like, you know, side stuff that is optional, I'm good with that. But like, you know, because I think back, because I'm playing Final Fantasy IX for the Vita, you know, like I said last episode, and I'll talk about it a little bit later, but I don't want to beat it into the ground, because I think this year we'll be talking a lot about Final Fantasy for various reasons. But you know, I'm 25 hours into it now, and I'm on disc 3, so it's like it's going faster than I remember it. But you know, I remember playing like 7, 8, and 9, and those being like 70+ hour games each, and it's like. But all of them, as I remember, like, they all have these points where it's like, all right, guys, there's not a lot going on right now. Like, it's just padding at this point. Like, I'm just having to, like, go through a lot of battles or do things that, you know, isn't necessarily very fun. Yeah, and it's not just RPGs. Like, I remember this with Grand Theft Auto 4, where it's like, that story could have been told in half the time and it would have been better for it.
Yeah.
You know, it just there's a part in the middle where it just drags for like an extra 15 hours.
Yeah.
So.
This one does not feel like it drags. It's the right amount of time. It feels like real life, actually, with the social element. Like, that's why I escaped for, you know, a week or something. Some days I played that thing like 8 hours straight because I was on break from school and stuff, and I mean, I wanted to get through this. I had just gotten my Vita. It was like the flagship title, and it's on sale again. If you didn't get it the first time, like, you got to. It's like, it'll be the best, I don't know, investment you make. Like, 75 hours divided by $8 that I spent for it. Like, I don't know. It's like less than a penny per hour. Ooh, good deal. No, but like, it's not only like that. It's a good game. It's that it changes your idea on what life is. If you don't read into Jungian psychology, and if you don't think about like what people's personalities mean to other people, and like the shadows that like they create because they're not ready to deal with parts of themselves, like, then this is like a game you'll want because it makes you think about those things. It's like in the plot itself, and that's what makes like good literature. It's entertaining and it's educational. Like there's different TV channels outside the game that you can look to like watch videos of psychology on the subject, or like videos of their like the music that's in it, or there's like all these different channels. And like in the game itself, like you go into the TV screen, like these people get sucked in. So it's interesting because like our whole culture gets sucked into TVs. They don't talk about like that as a metaphor like as much as they should. Maybe that's good that they just let it come out on its own, but like every aspect of it makes you want to play more, and it chases itself. You know, some games you need like a really quick pick-me-up because it's like really deep or something, like in heavy, like a Xenogears or the Xenosagas, but like this one, like the social element's a completely different game than like the dungeon crawler Pokemon game. So like every 5 hours or so you're going back and forth between the two, and it's like, well, I didn't want to play anymore, but like now this is something else that I'm playing.
Right. I mean, it's on my short list of stuff that I want to play. It just might be a little bit because, you know, I'm pretty knee deep in Final Fantasy, and I like usually after a game like that I have to like play something short and sweet afterwards to kind of cleanse the palate.
Yeah, and in that case, man, Ali 2 finally won me over.
Yeah, because you had problems with that game. You did not like it like at all.
And people loved it, like, but I played it on PlayStation 4, but if you play it on the Vita, it's like the Vita game of the year. Like, it makes you feel like you're using a tech deck digitally. It's great because of those little nubs on the PS Vita. I love them because of this game in particular. Like, you flick the nub just like it's a skateboard, and it was a free game on PS Plus. I hope you got it that way, and that's the reason I played it so much. But, like, I think the first one's on sale now, and you should just look out for it because it's one of those games that, like, you can restart really fast. You don't realize that you're, like, in it for 10, 15 minutes at a time because you just press one button and you restart.
Patrick, lover of nubs.
I love nubs.
Had to be done.
It didn't have to, but
I'm glad I did. Real quick. And I'm not going to talk about these, I'm just going to mention them, and then I'll come back to them later. I did pick up several board games, just mention them in passing. Defenders of the Realm, which is Shadow Hearts. Oh my gosh. Shadow Hearts is not a board game. Shadowrun Crossfire, which is unique because it's a board game in which you have character permanence and you gain experience and level up and get character perks, which is interesting. Over the course of, like, playing this game multiple times. Let's see. Nation's the Dice game, and Ghost Stories. But we'll talk about them another time. As I play them, I'll talk about them.
How often a week do you guys play board games?
Every other week or so.
Okay. Because you have so many of them. I'm just curious.
If I don't play them here, I usually take them down to the game store, and I play down there with some people. So
okay.
I'm usually playing them every other week or so.
There's a bar in Austin that's trying to open up called Vigilante that's going to be like a bar, restaurant, like gaming place where you can like get together and do that stuff. And nice. They're about to start a Kickstarter, and I'm gonna donate to it just because I think it'd be a cool thing to have in town, even if it's not something that I will be using all the time because I don't play a lot of board games. But it'd be a cool scene to check out, like if they get it off the ground. So
Man, the way you talk about Austin, Texas, like there's the pinball place, and then you're making it sound like it's the promised land in some ways.
It would be if it wasn't for all the goddamn hipsters.
See, that's a draw.
You say that, but you'd have to live here for about a year, and then you'd be like, nope. Well, I don't know, maybe not Patrick. Patrick might fit in.
Well, I really just said that because you're not supposed to say that, so I outsmarted the hipsters who would have said they wouldn't have wanted that.
Oh, okay. You're thinking like them. Mm-hmm. You're already halfway there.
Oh, no.
Well,
I saw, like, I had the quintessential hipster experience one day where I was pulling into the parking lot where my comic book store is, and there was this dude with his Buddy Holly glasses and his scraggly beard and his skinny jeans walking down the sidewalk, looking at his phone, not looking at anything else, doesn't pay attention to me, and, like, almost gets hit, looks at me, sneers, and then continues to look back down on his phone and keep walking. And I was like, I want to murder you. I want to actually murder you.
I mean, I understand that I have some hipster tendencies, but hopefully you don't want to murder me. I think that
you're not a pretentious D-bag. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the big part.
I mean, the point I want to make is that I'm self-aware of the hipsterness inside of me because I went to this really liberal college called Grinnell College, and we had this one poll every year, which was the hipster poll, like whether or not you were a hipster, and it was divided into 3 sections of campus: South, East, and North. South campus was where I lived like 3 out of 4 years, and it was where all the hipsters were. And I was like named Southie Pat from at least a couple people. But then there was East campus where some people went if they wanted air conditioning or something. Like the place got South place got air conditioning while I was going there, but I think before it was like, oh, the promised land in that way. And then there's North campus, which is like all the athletes. Well, anyway, North campus is always getting 100% on the poll as like all hipster. East campus is around 40% usually, but like some people say yes or no. And then nobody ever says that they're a hipster on South campus. We're just like, I don't know. It's hilarious that our college does that every year, but everybody knows, and we do it on purpose. Like to poll ourselves whether or not we're hipsters, and we say no on purpose.
Such a hipster thing to do.
Just like describing that in such detail. Shouldn't have.
There's like some serious pimp my ride happening in that entire description. Like, this is so hipster, there's hipster in this hipster. It's ridiculous.
Yo, dog, we heard you like hipsters.
Yeah. Whoa, did you hear that Pimp My Ride was not real?
No,
it was a reality show, so none of it is.
No, it was like on Huffington Post, like within the past month, they blew it up. They were all like, oh my god, did you know that was scripted? And I was like, that was bullshit to begin with.
I can't tell you how many craps I don't give.
Yeah, like, when's Ice Cube been relevant? Or Exhibit been relevant? I don't know.
When has that show been anything other than just, like, a spectacle? Like, nobody watched that going, oh my goodness, I can't wait for him to grab my crappy car and turn it into a crappy car with, like, an LCD screen in it.
I just remember, I remember he pimped this ride of, like, this really fat Mexican kid, and then, like, he starts fat-shaming him. He like fat shamed the shit out of him. He's like, well, now you just gotta like lose all this weight and you'll be good, man. Like,
oh no.
I know.
I'm not sure what's worse, the fact that happened or the fact that you said fat shaming. You filthy hipster.
I need to go to my safe place.
Oh, come on, PC principal.
Because words do hurt.
You PC, bro?
We're gonna need a new person on this newsletter.
So good. I haven't finished the season yet. I need to. I think I'm 2 episodes away.
Oh, if it weren't,
I haven't seen the epic conclusion.
I think that the RPG one's the best season, but like these last 3 seasons are all like way up there, and I don't know, the best anime or cartoons that's ever been made. That with like seasons 1 and 2 of Rick and Morty.
South Park the anime would also be amazing, though.
I mean, they did it.
They did?
Yeah, fun with weapons.
No. I mean, they bring it in every once in a while. Like, they have the 2 guys who are supposed to be gay, and they have, like, the people drawing the what the kind of manga about them, because like it's like a certain kind of like drawing. It's
the yaoi
season. Yeah, what is it?
Yaoi.
Yaoi.
Yeah.
Was it like slash fiction, like the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But well, it's no, because yaoi, like the actual genre in manga, is like it's romantic stories about boys in love, you know, and it's typically read by girls. I don't understand the phenomenon, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really listen to that part of it too much. I was laughing too hard at like just the hijinks that were going on. But
yeah, but the Fun with Weapons episode was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 seasons ago. It's the one where the boys get ninja weapons at like the fair, and they start playing ninjas, and it's all done in like anime style.
Oh yeah, that was probably when I just wasn't watching it. I think I missed.
You should see.
There was a long time where I was just not watching South Park, like a long time. So
yeah,
which funny story. My wife has never seen the Oh Holy Night skit, and because Christmas that came up recently, like the song came up, so I had to go ahead and show her the skit, and it was hilarious. It's still hilarious. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Is that like before the show actually started? Like,
it's the one where they're in school. It's if you just search "Oh Holy Night" South Park on YouTube, you'll find it. Somebody has aired it, but basically they're in school and the whole class has to sing it, and Cartman has to do "Oh Holy Night" as a solo, but he can't remember the words. So at one point, Mr. Garrison gives Kyle a cattle prod and says every time he forgets the words, just poke him a little, and hilarity ensues. So
I don't think I've ever seen that.
You should Google that. It is amazing. It's real good. Seriously, it's still funny. It's like one of the earliest skits that they did, and it holds up wonderfully. It's hilarious.
Nice. Speaking of that, I wonder how much that copy of Tiger Woods 99 that has the South Park episode on the disc goes for. Do you remember that? Like,
oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I just didn't know it had any value. It was just.
I don't know if it would, but
it was the first set of printings that they did, and then they were like, "Oh crap!" and they pulled it off.
Yeah.
I would be really surprised if any numerical value sports game had any value at all. And I mean, some of the early ones do have a lot of value, like the Olympic ones from the Nintendo days, but that's because of like.
Well, because they were only like there were so few.
Yeah,
like it's funny because like working in video game retail, it's like the sports games were always like the worst investment. You know, because you would like literally like I mean they're gone now, but like I can tell you that we had literally boxes upon boxes of copies of Madden for Genesis, of various copies, like massive boxes where that's the only thing that's in there is like 300 copies of Madden, right? And it's funny because I was at like one of our local stores here, Game Over Video Games. They're kind of really big into the retro stuff, and they have like collectors sections where they've got like box games that are complete, and they had like a box copy of like Tecmo Super Bowl for Super Nintendo that was going for like $39.99. I'm like, okay, guys, I understand there's a Super Nintendo game that's boxed and has the book and everything, but it's also Tecmo Bowl. Like, you know, I don't know. Granted, Tecmo Bowl wasn't like a yearly thing like Madden, but still, you know, that's not one of those like, oh, gotta have it. Gotta have that complete copy of Super Tecmo Bowl.
Tecmo Bowl was great.
Bo Jackson.
I don't know about that. That one, I played a lot of Tecmo Bowl because that was fun. Everybody played NBA Jam regardless of whether or not they were into sports because that just was amazing. But then what was the other sports games that were really good? Like NES Hockey, where you just like picked how big your characters were and then you would just like run the skinny guys off. It's great.
The only acceptable answer when you're talking about hockey is Blades of Steel.
Oh,
Blades of Steel is also amazing.
Wayne Gretzky, NHL 64. Yeah.
No. Blades of Steel. Only Blades of Steel.
How do we feel about Super Dodgeball as a sports game? Because also fantastic.
Yeah. I love me some Super Dodgeball.
Yeah. I've never seen Blades of Steel, but I love Dodgeball.
You've never seen Blades of Steel?
No.
Oh my goodness.
I actually can. It's on HBO Go, I think, now.
What? Oh, the movie?
You're talking about the movie?
No, I'm talking about the NES game.
Video game.
Oh my god. Talking about Will Ferrell.
No.
It's like, Jesus.
I'm talking about Blades of Steel.
The guy yelling while you're in a fight, you're like, Get your phone.
Okay.
Playing Gradius during halftime? Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's a good game.
It's a fantastic game.
What other sports titles were good?
Double Dribble?
Yeah, I played Double Dribble too. I played a lot of that.
With like cutscenes for the 3 points?
Dunks. Yeah.
I mean,
It was so bad. It was like
Get off
frame,
this podcast, Patrick.
frame. And then the only way you knew if you missed the dunk somehow was if the ball disappeared instead of going through the net.
Yeah.
It was real good.
It was real good. You know what's also real good is
the Windy City. Sorry.
what the Chaos in the Windy City? We don't need to bring that up again.
Oh.
No, but Final Fantasy IX continues to be real good. But playing it, you know, because okay, so I've been having this I've been having this issue recently as far as like finding time to play video games. I don't know where my time goes, but like there just doesn't seem to be time to play stuff. So when Patrick says like 75 hours on Persona, I'm like, I don't know when that's ever going to happen. Because like I've been trying to finish Undertale on my PC for like 3 weeks straight, and it's only a 6-hour game, and I still haven't finished it. I'm at the very end, but that's another story.
Sounds like you have a Dark City problem. If you've ever seen the Kiefer Sutherland movie.
I have seen that.
I have, but I've only seen it once.
It's pretty good.
Little by little, the sun disappears without people knowing it, and then they like realize. Well, one person realizes, hey, I don't remember the last time that I actually remember daylight. It's like, hey, I don't remember the last time I actually put a significant chunk of time into a video game. And that's like what I had to do. You just have to dedicate it. You know, you have to look for it. And then when you realize it's not there, you have to realize that, you know, people are coming into your house at night and putting drugs into you. So like, remember something. Can they do it in Dark City?
That might be what's going on. Really, like if we're talking real talk, I mean, what it is like since Mom died, like, you know, I get home from work and it's like I've got to cook, I've got to put dishes away, I've got to put laundry away, I've got to like clean the cat box, and then by the time all that's done, it's pretty much I've got like an hour, and that's not enough time to play anything. And then the weekends are just shot because like I've seen my girlfriend the entire weekend, so I'm not really playing anything then. But I have put 25 hours into Final Fantasy IX on my Vita, almost purely from traveling, because I did a lot of traveling over the holidays. You know, went to see my girlfriend's family during Thanksgiving, so I got some hours in there at night. And you know, I've talked on the show also that I play it at night when she's going to bed. But then also, same thing for Christmas, did that. And then I went to Colorado over New Year's to visit my friends, you know, my best friends, and I actually flew this time. So I had quite a bit of time on planes. 3 on the way back, I might add. It was a very long trip back. So I got a lot of time put into Final Fantasy IX while I was there. But playing it for the first time in 15 years, I love it. And I mentioned last time how like I feel the battle system is a little bit too slow comparatively to like modern games. But I was thinking, you know, about, you know, not to belabor the point and not to like harp on this, but like, you know, when we were talking about that Final Fantasy VII remake and how like what I wish that they would do is reevaluate those PlayStation games as a group and then find the stuff that works and then just discard the stuff that doesn't. Like that's really what I was thinking about when I was playing it, because you get to disc 3 of Final Fantasy IX and you're pretty much locked in to a situation where it's just people talking for like 3 hours. And it's not just that it's a cutscene. It's you having to go from this room to that room to talk to this one person, to have like a cutscene there, to then go back to this room and then back to that room. And it's like, all right, guys, you know what? Like, it would be so much better if you just like went from scene to scene for me. If like all I'm actually doing is having to talk to people, just go ahead and fade to black and then show me when they get to the throne room. Like, don't have me walk all the way across town just to go talk to that guy, and then walk back across the castle to go talk to somebody else. Like, there's no fun in it. There's no gameplay there other than walking around for no reason.
Yeah, there's no social links.
Yeah, it you know, and that's the thing where it's like, okay, this worked in 2000, this doesn't work now. Like, unless there's like a tangible reason for me to walk around, and you know, granted, like, if I wanted to, I could like start playing card games with people, but that card game is terrible. So
it's only terrible
Only
because
Triple
we got
Triad?
it after the Final Fantasy VIII card game, which is the best one.
well, yeah, and the problem with the one on 9, yeah, it is triple triad. Like
Mm-hmm.
the rules are like apocryphal. Like even the people you talk to is like, well, I'm not really sure what the numbers on the cards mean, and it's like, thanks guys, that helps a lot. So then I put down a card that should turn over this card, and then like my number is bigger than the number on the other one, but then I lose.
I think it has a cult following, though. Don't people like it? Like, I think it returned in 14 or something.
People love it. It was 11 actually. You could pay extra money when 11 came out to play Triple Triad separately.
But I was with you, though. Like,
Triple Triad was the Final Fantasy VIII one, and Final
Maybe it
Fantasy
was.
IX one was something else.
I might be conflating them. But whatever, the one that was in Final Fantasy IX came back in 11.
oh,
And yeah,
Really?
but you had to pay an extra monthly fee. It was like an extra $2 or something to play it.
well, I remember liking one, and then I remember the 9 one, which you said you couldn't really figure out what was going on. And if you played it to begin with, that was before the internet was a big deal, and there weren't big walkthroughs and everything where you could figure out what the cards meant. So it was just, you were stuck with this anonymous crap, and you were just like, well, I could lose a bunch of times and screw up my whole game, or I could
Unless you bought the strategy guide. Oh, wait.
Worst strategy guide ever published.
Absolutely.
And it's funny too because I want to collect all the Final Fantasy strategy guides, but it's like, what's the point in getting that one? Like, it's literally useless now. You
I
can't
wanna
get that
say-
information.
I want to say that they are not reprinting the original strategy guide, because that would be stupid. Hopefully they somehow took like the web information and transposed it into the book, because every turn that thing was like, yeah, you got maps and you got stuff like that, but like the information that you were really looking for was like, type this URL into a web browser and go online and blah,
Oh,
blah, blah.
no. It wasn't even that. It was go to playonline.com and enter this keyword. Because
Oh, right.
that was when Square Enix was getting that whole thing started, because
Right.
Play Online originally was not supposed to just be the hub for Final Fantasy XI. You were supposed to go there for Final Fantasy 9, 10, 11 in perpetuity. It was supposed to be the Final Fantasy page, and then it ended up being just the really arbitrary, difficult to work with, like, gateway into Final Fantasy XI that made it terrible for like playing on Xbox.
Do you remember?
Then they had Shinra Industries, and then that falls too. I mean, you should never name your server over the enemy, but I don't know why you would name it Shinra if Shinra is the enemy in Final Fantasy VII. But
Right?
now, why did Square ever do that? Dumbest move.
Well, because they thought that they were going to build this really big online infrastructure for like all of their games.
We have to have games though.
Well, yeah, and that was and that was the thing, is that even because I think Final Fantasy X was supposed to have hooks into it that just never materialized, and so once that didn't happen, it ended up just being the thing for Final Fantasy XI, and then it's still the gateway for Final Fantasy XI, but 14 thankfully doesn't have that, as you know, Patrick. You just log into the game like a real MMO.
I distinctly remember, and tell me if I'm wrong, but there was at one point a video released where they were doing some sort of a conference, and they actually demonstrated hooking Final Fantasy X into Play Online. They had like a little bar filling up and all this other stuff going on. That never made it into the final version.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Right. I just remember, I remember they actually visually showed it off. Like it was something they had built into the game that they stripped out before they released it.
Yeah. Because remember when Square Enix used to like show like the next 3 Final Fantasies all in a row, and you're like, oh yes, here's the future of Final Fantasy. Remember, guys, when they did that, before they like worked on the same game for a decade and didn't have anything to show for it?
Yeah, like when they had 3 per system.
Yeah. Those were good times.
Yeah, well, maybe that'll come with like remaking Final Fantasy Adventure, and they'll start putting more games on portable again or something. But
that's really where I think this franchise should go. But anyway, just to kind of put a bow on my Final Fantasy IX talk, 'cause I'm not really going to talk about it again until I finish it, but I'm really enjoying it again. I'm trying to give more care to the characters that aren't Zidane, Dagger, Vivi, and Steiner, because for me that's really what the characters of that game is about. They're the only ones that I used. So I'm actively
You're not wrong,
though. I'm not wrong, but I'm actively trying to use other characters. So I've been paying a little bit closer attention to the script this time, and Freya is a much better character than I remembered her being. So I'm trying to use Freya more. I'm trying to use Amaranth, but I really don't like him just in general. And as much as I hate blue mages, I'm trying really hard to have Quina learn all of her blue magic. Which has come in handy, but man, I hate the character design on that. Actually, okay, this might sound blasphemous. I don't really like the character designs in Final Fantasy IX. Except for Vivi. And
Vivi's the best.
yeah, except for Vivi. Like, the rest of them are just kind of like, they're either fine or they're actively bad, like Quina and Amaranth. And, I'd say, you know, who was I? Oh, maybe even Freya. Like, just doesn't do anything for me.
Freya's figure's a little weird. I always found her to be like strangely proportioned, I suppose. But then again, it's like SD. Like, everything's supposed to be like that SD, the super deformed style. And then there's Freya, who doesn't quite fit the same mold as the other characters. Like, she seems like longer and thinner.
Yeah, she's almost shaped like a triangle.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. But she's an interesting character in that she's so stoic. Which was very unique for a female character, I thought.
Her arc this time around, and again, like, when I played the first time, I didn't really pay close attention to anybody but those core four. But her arc in 9 is really good, and so I've been appreciating her a lot more. And, you know, the level system is so cool in 9. I really do love that ability system. I think that works supremely well, and they should bring that back in other games, not just Final Fantasy, but like other RPGs.
What do you think about the new battle system in 15 where you can switch between the two if you want easier or hard difficulty? That sounds kind of like what you want for 7, but you're getting it for 15.
Well, I mean, 15 has the same problem that 7 has for me, or the remake of 7 is that it's really, you know, controlling one character, auto battle style, you know, like, to me that takes a lot of the strategy out of the game, so.
Yeah, that's the reason I didn't like the earlier Personas so much, and why I stopped playing some of them was because you can only control the first character, but at least in the fourth one you can switch to direct commands. Like, you can choose to, Final Fantasy should totally take from this. You could choose to only control one character, or you could choose all of them, or you could pick 2, like, whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and that's the thing is, and I said this last time, is that there seems to be some sort of happy medium to where you can either do the whole, I only control Cloud and then the computer takes care of the rest thing, or I can play this like an actual RPG, you know, and have it be turn-based and, you know, ATB gauges filling up and making actual menu decisions for all these characters, but it's not going to be that. At some point I'm just going to have to, you know, give up the ghost and say, okay, Final Fantasy is not this anymore, and it's never going to be this again. So I need to just, like, shut up and just play the old ones and then, you know, appreciate the new ones for what they are, or dare I say, and I can't even imagine I would ever do this, but say, I'm done with you, Final Fantasy, and I'm not buying any of the new games.
Never.
I'll just start collecting all the Japanese versions of the older one.
I'm sorry, I've actually absolutely gotten to the point where I will not pre-order them anymore. That's it. I'm waiting to see what they actually are, and then I'll make my decision.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I stumbled upon 10 when that came out. Like, I remember after Christmas, and I didn't realize that a Final Fantasy game was coming out, and then it came out, like, at the new year. And then I was like, whoa, I got this money, and I can get it. Maybe it came out for Christmas, but that was the time when the internet wasn't such a big deal yet. We're talking about, like, all these old Final Fantasies, though, and I'm thinking about, like, how they're on sale on the Vita, and I need your help, guys. like, which ones of these are worth going in for? Because now they're only like $1 to $3. Like,
then all of them.
All of them. Yeah. If it's
Go ahead and tell me what they are.
I mean, as far as like proper Final Fantasy games, it's just Final Fantasy VII and Tactics. And I remember you saying, don't get the PS1 Classic version, get the PSP game.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, and then the Final Fantasy VII, you would like to buy that for $3, but I want to wait, you know.
Oh no! Actually, I'm sorry. I wouldn't do that anymore because the version that came out on PS4 recently is so much nicer and it has trophies.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that that's different. It has trophies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a remap. Well, it's not. I mean, it's an HD. You know, like it runs in 1080p and everything. Like it's a port of the PC version from a couple years ago.
Okay, yeah, I think this is the PS Classic. It's PS3, PSP. So
yeah.
So don't get those. I mean.
Oh, speaking of which, not to cut you off, Patrick, but they really need to patch in the ability to play the PS1 games on your PS4, like the PS3, because that would be great.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sitting here in my bed playing Final Fantasy IX. I'm like, you know, I could play this a lot longer if I could like play it on my PS4 with my controller.
You think? Dude, I've been playing Persona more because I'm in bed. I like just wake up and play it. It's not good.
Well, but having the ability to go back and forth, you know, with the cloud saves.
Like, yeah, oh, definitely. I would like that ability. Yeah. I mean, there's other games that are on sale too, like that I would recommend. Chrono Trigger, you need to play if you haven't played it. But like, I have Chrono Cross on PlayStation 1. I didn't ever really play it, and I would like to. Should I get it again for $3? I don't know.
That's a hard one for me because I didn't like Chrono Cross very much. I thought it was fine, but
it's not Trigger.
It's not Trigger. And then the PlayStation 1 version of Trigger is weird because you have those great cutscenes with, you know, the Akira Toriyama animated cutscenes, but the menus load so slowly that it becomes almost infuriating to play.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these menus are really slow and going to be infuriating, but like that's part of the fun of it and why I like listening to like starting up those kind of games. I don't know why, but there's not just those, but there's more RPGs you can get. Like for $1, you can get Parasite Eve and Suikoden. Like I have Suikoden already, but I might get Parasite Eve. You can get Wild Arms for $2, Breath of Fire 4 for $1, which I played a lot of already. That's good. But like, do you get any of those? The Dino Crisis games, are those worth it?
Well, okay, so yeah, Parasite Eve I think would be worth revisiting for that cheap. That game was weird because I got to the last boss in like 7 hours and then could not beat him because I was underleveled, and I was like, how did this happen? Like, I wasn't rushing through this game by any means, but somehow I ended up at the end completely underprepared or completely unprepared for this fight with no way to fix it. And I was like, okay, well, I've seen everything but the last cutscene, I guess.
Parasite Eve, I had a similar situation happen in Parasite Eve where I got to the last boss, and I had screwed up my weapon. And therefore, I was unable to beat the last boss because I had screwed up my weapon so badly that I basically could not do enough damage to it before I ran out of ammo.
So I don't want to make that same mistake. Can you spoil that for me right now?
I don't
know, because it's been way too freaking long.
Yeah, and even at the time, I didn't know what I'd done wrong. Like, I think this time you have the internet, though, so you can be like, oh, what's a good way to play through this?
Yeah, but I have you guys. Damn it.
Well, but I played that game in, 1998? 1999?
Yeah.
For everything, so. Julian.
Now, to answer your question about Dino Crisis, because I think you and I, Patrick, were kind of in the same mindset where it's like, man, this Vita's really nice for playing PS1 games. Like, they look just how they should. And I was thinking, I was like, oh man, after I'm done with Final Fantasy IX, I'm gonna get Metal Gear Solid. I'm gonna get this and that. Then I realized that the Vita is missing 2 triggers, which are replaced by the back touch as buttons. Yeah. And that's fine for Final Fantasy IX and RPGs. But when it's a game like Metal Gear, or more specifically like Dino Crisis, where you're holding down a trigger to fire, that's not going to work too well, I don't think.
They sell triggers that you can attach to your PS Vita that are secondary triggers that will like basically make a connection to the back touch screen for you.
Shut the front door.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
It's new. They only came out, I want to say, this month or in December somewhere.
Yeah,
It's
I
fairly new,
remember,
so-
Angelo, you said you pre-ordered it or something. You were looking forward to
No,
it.
I didn't do that.
No? I
Was-
remember you said you got the old Vita because you wanted to get that and you wanted to stack it with the trigger thing so that it would be as thick as possible because you didn't like how it made your hands feel.
I wanted to get a case for it, but yeah, I don't know about the trigger. I don't remember if I said anything about the trigger thing, honestly.
I wanted to find a grip for mine because it was hurting my hands. And then someone in the comments did mention that they bought some grips for their Vita, and that made all the difference. So I'm going to look into that.
Okay. Yeah.
So, well, if that's the case, then yeah, I'd say, yeah, Dino Crisis is great.
I mean, it's only $1 for each of them. Like, are both of them good? You want to go 1 and 2?
I didn't play 2.
I remember liking it when I was really little, but it was also because I was playing a mature-rated game and I wasn't supposed to.
It's Resident Evil with dinosaurs. I mean,
Exactly.
if you like that idea, go for it.
And if you don't have those trigger things, I really like Breath of Fire 4. It's a classic RPG you can play. I think I heard Wild Arms is good in a unique way.
Yeah.
It's good in a unique way in that it has some light Western theming. I'll give has really good music.
It does.
But it's fairly standard JRPG stuff if I remember correctly.
Really?
Yeah.
It would be interesting for me to go back to it because Wild Arms came out right before Final Fantasy VII. So, I played Wild Arms when it came out, and I thought it was fantastic. I was blown away. And then Final Fantasy VII, I think, came out the same year, and I played that, and I was like, that Wild Arms is so crap.
Yeah.
Because 7 just, changed the game. But I think now, kind of like what Angelo was saying, with Mega Man Legends, is now, with all this time having passed, if I'm looking at Wild Arms just as a product of its time, I can probably appreciate it more now than I could in 1998 in a post Final Fantasy VII world.
Yeah, I think you're right too, and that's actually the reason I didn't play it to begin with, because it was when I had just gotten the PS2, I had beaten Final Fantasy VII and was looking for other games like it, and I was like, well, this came out in the same year, and then the guys were like, yeah, but it's nothing even close to Final Fantasy VII, so you can get Final Fantasy 8 or 9, that's the closest thing, but Wild Arms, that's, nah. I mean, I want to play different games now.
I played it after Final Fantasy VII, and I was just like, this isn't good enough.
Right. But I mean, Angelo's not wrong. The music is great, and I think that the Western setting is still unique. So it's got that going for it, and just thinking back to as I'm playing Final Fantasy IX, RPGs used to have things that would challenge your mind as well as your thumbs, because Wild Arms has puzzle dungeons, and it's that's a thing that doesn't happen anymore, where it's these days you play an RPG and it's literally just a matter of getting from point A to point B.
Yeah.
It's really just the execution of the battles, where Wild Arms is from that era where it's no, you have the challenging RPG battles, but you also have to figure out how to get through each dungeon.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm missing in Persona. I just really wish I had it. I think Wild Arms actually is a dark horse in the next, in the virtual reality era to be revitalized now that you mention it, because of the theme actually, which I think will mold well with what's going to be the biggest genre for the foreseeable future, which is interactive movies and games Until Dawn. If you couple a Wild Arms game with a Sergio Leone film or any, classic Western, that's something that not only our generation would Red Dead Revolver, but the older generation would like too, with the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the younger generation would just because, death and violence and all that.
A little bit of a stretch, but okay.
But
I don't think the Wild Arms is ever going to come back. I don't even remember who owned Wild Arms.
I'm not saying bring it back as a full RPG. I'm saying bring it back as a virtual reality RPG kind of interactive title, where.
Right, but I just mean that you could do something in that vein, but it won't be Wild Arms.
No.
You're just saying that it would be neat to be transported into a Western world with that type of an interface going on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Wild Arms exactly, but I know that the theme is going to be something in the future that people are going to get their hands on as you get more into it, because people want to be more cowboys and cowgirls. Like, that's why country's big. I mean, the music sucks, but people like being a cowgirl.
I like being a cowgirl.
No, you
Puzzle
do.
Dungeons 2. I mean, did any of you guys ever play Phantasy Star 2?
I have not played 2. 4 was the one that I spent a lot of time
Yeah, I
on.
played 2. I couldn't get through the second dungeon, but
I was going to say, if you want to see how bad Puzzle Dungeons got, I mean, they toned them down after this, but holy crap, that game. There's a reason that when they released it in North America, they shipped it with the strategy guide, because those dungeons were nightmares.
yeah, I played that on the Genesis collection for PlayStation 3. They had Phantasy Star 3, 4, or 2, 3, and 4. And
It has the first one, too. You just have to unlock it.
Oh, well, I mean,
First one's
no
really
one's
good.
going to do that. I don't know what you have to do, but you can't beat the Phantasy Stars if you don't have the manual or the walkthrough. I just walked through and got frustrated with the amount of random battles in it. Like, oh, geez, tone it down.
Well, not only that, but the dungeons all look the same, and it's all basically running back and forth between staircases on different floors.
Yeah.
And there's like a dozen staircases.
Isn't it also in first person?
No, that's the first one.
That's the first one, okay. Speaking of puzzle dungeons, I've been playing Undertale, as I mentioned a little earlier, which is like one of the indie darlings that came out last year, that I actually had actively wanted to finish before I listened to like the big Game of the Year deliberations from Giant Bomb, because I knew they'd be talking about, like I had heard that, like, you know, the ending stuff, like, you don't want spoiled and blah, blah, blah. That game is really cool. That game is a game that I wish I just watched a Let's Play of.
And I so agree, Julian. Like, I read an article on Kotaku about, like, how to get the perfect ending in that game. I'm like, that sounds so boring, but ideally, that's the game I would want to play.
Well, yeah, so, you know, the game, on its face, like, it looks like it's just a ripoff of Earthbound. Like, straight up. Like, the graphic style, the art style, the battle system where, you know, it's in first person and everything's in black and white. Well, I mean, the characters are black and white, and then there's, like, colors on the screen. It's very Earthbound, and I didn't play Earthbound, so I don't have that love and affinity for that game.
I tried to play Earthbound, and I did not like it, and I went back to it to try it, and I still don't like it. Sorry, guys.
I bought it for my Wii U, but I haven't played it yet.
That's why you don't like playing with other games with people with yo-yos in it.
Huh?
I think he might have a yo-yo in Earthbound.
Oh, okay.
But I haven't played it.
Don't remember.
So, but no. So, but the thing with Undertale that's really interesting, and it's one of my favorite parts of the game, is that you can get out of pretty much every battle. Not every battle your first time through, but there are ways to do it, like, through the entire game without killing a single enemy.
Yep.
And it's kind of a puzzle where it's like you're trying to figure out how to talk to enemies or what you need to do to, like, get them to not want to fight you anymore, and then you just, like, show them mercy and they run away. And you don't get experience points. Like, you don't get stronger. Like, you start the game at level 5. I'm at the end of the game, I'm still level 5.
Mm-hmm.
I killed one enemy on accident, and then a couple bosses that I don't think that you can avoid killing on your first time through.
I don't
On
know.
your first time through.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I
Yeah.
think you
Wait, so
can get a full, like, no kill anybody. And,
Yeah, there's a pacifist ending where you don't kill anybody, but you can't do it in your first playthrough.
Okay, because in the last boss, it seems like you can't do anyway. Oh, the way that I don't want to spoil it, but the way that it happens is just like so.
Be quiet.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything, but so, you know, the thing is that, like, when you're in these fights and everything, even if you don't fight, if you just, like, try to talk to them or whatever, the enemy takes their turn, and you are represented by a little heart in the middle of the screen, and then it turns into a bullet hell game where you're avoiding projectiles from the enemy. And, you know, for most of the game, that's been fine. Like, it's very simple. I'm on one of the last bosses now, where it's turned into a full-on bullet hell game. And I can't do it. because, like, I don't have any healing items left, and I'm playing on a keyboard, so it's not the best thing for dodging things deftly like you would in a bullet hell shooter. And it's like, if I'd just been watching this game, I think I would have gotten everything out of it that I got from playing it, and I would have been done faster because I wouldn't be restarting battle after battle after battle. So that's kind of a bummer, and it's kind of a weird thing where, there's certain games coming out now where it's like, the Let's Play community has basically started to dictate game design in this really weird way where it's like, I almost feel that a lot of developers are like, I need to make this in a certain way that's going to be awesome when PewDiePie plays it. It's like, it's gonna be really cool when people watch people play this game. And it's like, but the actual act of playing it, at least for me, is just like, alright, like, I'm not digging, like, how often I'm getting into fights, and, once you figure out how to, work each enemy, then it just becomes like, there's one enemy where it's like, you have to, like, you do a flex off with him, and then, but you do it for, like, 4 turns. So it's like, there's no way to do that faster. So it's like, you just have to sit there for 4 turns, like, clicking the same menu option, and then avoiding his stuff, and it's like, okay, that's great once, but when you fight him 8 or 9 times, it's like, alright guys, like, I kind of wish that I could just fast forward through this now and just get to the next funny part. Because the script is amazing. Don't get me wrong, like, it is legitimately funny. It also has some really poignant stuff towards the end. And I like some of the stuff that it's doing to subvert, like, the way that you play video games. Like, you start to realize, I'm not going to spoil too much, but you start to realize that it's keeping track of more than you think it's keeping track of. Like, it's more than just who you killed. It's keeping track of how you play. And that's really interesting, and I want to see where it goes. But I was trying to finish it before we recorded, because I'm right at the end. But that didn't happen, because I don't know if I can finish this part. I think I would actually have to go back and farm some gold to go buy some healing items just so I can stand a chance.
That game also seems like it might have been a little bit, like, built for the memeing crowd, if you know what I mean. Like, that game has some stuff that I could just easily see people, once the game's been out long enough, and they're probably not even going to wait, just putting on the internet with, like, funny little quotes on it. Like, it's a meme generator, basically.
I wouldn't go, like, I know that has happened, but I think that happens with anything that's created these days. And I don't want to put that on the game, because it's not the game's fault that it has really fun characters that you want to talk about after the fact. Like, and this isn't a spoiler, these are like the first 2 characters you really interact with, but it's really cool. You find these 2 skeleton brothers.
Oh, yeah.
The first guy is named Sans, and his font is Comic Sans. and he's a big wisecracker. And then his older brother Papyrus, whose font is Papyrus. Which are 2 of the most reviled fonts.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not one of those people. I don't really care. But, like, I know that people hate those 2 fonts, and it's like, you get to watch them talk in those 2 fonts for a big chunk of the game, and that's kind of funny.
When does Wingding show up?
I didn't see Wingdings.
Aww.
But it's not just the fact that, I mean, that's a one and done joke, but then the stuff that you get to interact with them through is really funny. It's good stuff. I'm glad that I played it, but again, I just feel that I would have gotten the exact same experience if I just watched a Let's Play. The only problem with that is that I would have had to deal with, like, some moron talking over the game constantly, and I can't. So.
Right.
That's my...
That's why they make long plays.
Those are the ones where just people just play the game, right?
Yep, it's just the game. Usually, there's sometimes tool assisted in cases where it's just, the idea is just, here's how you can see the entire game. Not necessarily somebody showing off their skill or anything else. It's just, here's the game. That's a long play.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And it's like, but I don't want to, like, take money away from the developers because I think it's a really good game. So it's like, I would almost say, hey, buy the game and then watch it on YouTube.
Right. Oh, gosh. Somebody did that, too. I don't want to go there. Never mind. We can talk about that later.
You were talking about trying to finish a game before playing, and I gotta say, I think I've got another classic bungle. I was playing Persona 4 this morning, and I was at level 66, and I was at the December dungeon. I think you start in, like, April, something like that. So I'm very far into it, and I think I'm, like, 74 hours into it. Well, I got to level 75. I was at the very last battle of that dungeon, facing the guy who I knew I was going to face from the beginning, and may or may not be the last guy, but I'm sure that he's one of the very last, like, at the very least, and got to the very last hit, and I healed, because I was like, you know what, there might be a little sliver left, and I might, like, get screwed over, and I definitely don't want to get screwed over, so I'm going to play it safe. So I healed completely. I wanted to be conservative and full health. The enemy does 3 attacks in a row, criticals my main character, completely kills him while I have every defense on and I'm over leveled. And then I couldn't play it again, and I was, like, disgusted. I was like, I just played this game for, like, a half an hour for this boss battle, and I'm going to have to play this boss battle again? Well, I didn't want to play it right away, so I got out of the game. And then I heard about this awesome sale. Went right on PlayStation Store, bought Symphony of the Night right away. It was like,
so good.
Oh, shoot, I want to play this right away. I want to see if there's trophies in it. I need to start this up.
I see where this is going.
I started it up.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
I didn't say. I lost like 10 levels.
Oh!
Character today. 66 to 77.
I mean, how are you not saving that often? Like, how much? Well, let me. I'm sorry. How much game time was that? Like, how long had you been playing?
I mean, that was probably like 3 hours. Like, this shit happens to me all the time.
How do you play an RPG for 3 hours and not save?
I don't know.
Multiple times?
Like, I sometimes I save like every 5 minutes, and it's so stupid. And then other times I forget the entire time I'm playing. It's like, why are games can automatically have a save feature at like stupid points where people like me won't lose the whole days of their life?
Yeah, you got to remember that Persona 4 is technically a PS2 game, so you know.
Does that game have save points, or is it you just have to open the menu and go to save to do it?
Save points.
So you walked past save points and went, nah.
Oh no! Like you go through a whole dungeon without a save. You have to.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, then there's not anything you could have really done there.
I could have
Except
taken
not from the game
myself
off.
out of the dungeon and saved and gone back in, but you have to do things on certain days. So I wanted to do it all during this day. So I was trying to do it without. I could have saved though, like because you can get kind of out to the save point, but I didn't think it was necessary. So.
Well, now that you tell that part of it, I can understand. Like, you know, but in most situations when I'm playing a game like that, like I'm saving like every chance that I get. Like Final Fantasy IX, there's times when I'm saving like 10 minutes apart.
Oh, there's sometimes in Persona where you want to save like within a minute of itself because you want to get like a certain kind of blessing. You can get a small, mild, or great blessing with a character to get like your social link up, and sometimes you get a small, but you need a great one. So you just like you can keep reloading. I didn't really think about this until I saw it as a helpful tip recently, and I didn't use it. But like if you're going for like a special game or something like that, you need to do it.
We are living our lives. About with so much information. Come on, let go the remote. Don't you know you're ready on a jungle day? Try to flip the boat, double cooking on a go, but I know use. Hang up in cuisine. Loading. Quickly reach maximum capacity. Want it. Gonna shop with my identity.
We're probably probably going to wrap up here in a second, but before we go, I just had one last thing that I had. Oh, wait. No, I had one okay.
I have a big thing.
I have a big thing.
This is not over.
Yeah!
Just get started, yo.
Because I've waited too long to talk about it, because, you know, I did talk about earlier about how, like, I haven't been playing games, you know, I haven't been able to put a lot of time into games, but I did, you know, from, I think, was it episode, I guess our last one where we talked about what we played, you know, that's been like 2 episodes ago. Between that one and our previous episode where we were just talking about the state of the generation, I played all the way through Tomb Raider Definitive Edition for Xbox One.
Yes.
So, and I need to talk about that game. Because Angelo, you had just finished it like not too long ago.
It's been a while now, but yeah.
Well, but you know, you talked about it not too long ago.
Sure.
I love
Mm-hmm.
half of that game.
Mm-hmm.
Half of that game is near perfect.
Which half is
and
that?
It's funny. The first half.
Right. Okay, go on.
And it's funny because, like, you know, I was listening to the Backloggers Anonymous where they were doing Tomb Raider Legend, and they were really running down the 2013 game, something fierce. And it's like, I feel like maybe they played a different game than I did, or maybe they didn't get what that game was going for, because they were really talking about how, oh, they ruined Lara's character, and, you know, she's such a wimp, and, you know, all this stuff, and it's like, she's always, like, just moaning and groaning, and it's like, okay, like, Lara never really had much of a character in those older games. She was just kind of this lady that fired pistols and flipped around. And,
Tits.
and well, not even that. That was more of like what the media, you know, did.
But also,
well, right. But
I mean, you couldn't even see them. It was all about the butt.
Right.
See the butt anyway.
They tried to work in some more story and complexity to her character later on, but it still wasn't anything to write home about.
No, Nathan.
You know,
sure.
The whole focal point of the 2013 game is that you get to see her, like, you know, basically, you know, she's just an explorer that's thrust into this terrible situation, and then what happens from that? You know, and I think you do see her grow really well throughout the course of that game. Like, I think it's really well done.
Well, except there's some times where you just have to kind of, like, look at the screen and nod your head and go, yep, video game, and just deal with that. Yeah, crank stuff up a little higher than it should be.
That's where I was going with this.
Yeah.
I have the same problem with Tomb Raider that I had with Spec Ops The Line and Last of Us.
I need to put that on my list. Spec Ops The Line needs to happen.
Yes, you do.
Go on.
Which is, at some point, those games became video games where I think that the developers had a different plan in mind. You know, and it's like, and it's, part of it is pacing. And then part of it is just like, oh, well, it's a video game, so we need to hit, like, check off these boxes. You know? So, like, in the case of, like, Tomb Raider, you know, the moment when Lara Croft kills her first guy with a gun, it's a really big, pivotal moment. It's really well done. Now, if I was making that game, I would say, okay, you killed that guy, but you didn't have any bullets left, and you don't get bullets for another, like, 3 hours. Okay? Like, you killed that guy, you have to deal with that. Because killing people is hard if you're not trained for it.
Same thing with the hunting scenario.
Right.
Go on. I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. So, that would be great, but in Tomb Raider, you kill that one dude, and then because it's a video game and they have to teach you how to shoot a gun, you then kill 30 other dudes immediately after, like it's no big thing.
Right.
And then that just escalates for the rest of the game. And then same thing like Andrew, you bring up the hunting, like when you use the bow and you hunt your first deer, it's a really cool moment. But then there's no need to do that ever again. And
well,
it's like,
what I did was I said, oh, hey, I got experience points for that. There's another deer over there. Twang. And I hunted like 15 deer. Why not? You know what I mean? Maybe not 15, but it was just like she had this whole impassioned thing about dealing with the fact that she just murdered this animal. And then I just killed 10 more.
Well, I'm not okay. That's on you though.
Right.
I'm not gonna ding the game for that.
But how hard would it have been for them to go, oh, you killed the deer, all the animals got scared off, there's no more hunting for you to do, you know, then go back to camp, like that kind of thing.
Sure.
Just throwing it out there.
This probably was in the game at some point, but again, had to be a video game. Publisher, like overlords, you know, had to step in. But it's like, I bet there was a version of that game where hunting was important and you had to do it in order to not only get resources, but live. You know, sort of like Metal Gear Solid 3. but they were like, oh, well, that's too, it's too repetitive or it's too gamey, or not gamey, but too difficult.
It definitely seemed like they were setting that up.
Right.
Definitely.
Now, I know you say you want like this big, like it was a big deal to kill somebody, and you gotta like work up to like the next kill. But then it makes me think of Undertale and how there was the flex character, and you didn't want to do that 4 times. So I'm trying to like be the devil's advocate and be on the developer's side here and be like, how do you QA that long enough, like where you get it just right and you get it out on time, where you're still making money? Like it's hard to have that delicate balance.
Well, let me tell you the difference there is that, like, the problem with the character in Undertale is that it was literally the same thing, the same boring thing that I was doing, like for multiple turns, multiple times. But I would argue that the stealth and the mobility in Tomb Raider is good enough on its own that you can make the game more focused on that. And then definitely, by all means, let's have some combat, let's have some shooting, but I think that, like, having it more focused on melee and getting away, like, at least in that section, make it more focused on stealth and getting away. Or maybe setting up traps and stuff like that to, like, get around them. And then ramp it up a little bit later. But even then, like, that game does not feel like a game where you ever need to be in a firefight with 30 dudes.
No.
Like, be in a firefight with 5 dudes and make those 5 dudes really tough. Make that a challenge. Mm-hmm. And then there is a part, storyline-wise, right towards the end, where it makes sense to become a shooting gallery, and it's fun and satisfying.
Fun. That was amazing.
Yeah. But I think that there's a pacing issue there where it's like... And then there's another thing, and Spec Ops has this problem in spades, where it's like, you're supposed to be a regular dude on a regular battlefield, but then at some point there's these dudes that are 9 feet tall and, like, in body armor, because you need to have the tougher guy, right? And you have to show that visually so oh, it's the tough guy, right? Tomb Raider has that also, where it's like, and they kind of get this from Batman Arkham Asylum.
Oh my god, I was just going to say that as soon as you're going to stop talking, I was going to be like, it's got the Arkham Asylum problem, where at the end of the game, all of a sudden you're in this hallway, and there's 50 characters that you got to kill on your way to the Joker, like...
Well, not just that, but it has that escalation thing where it's like, okay, first these guys were only using, like, melee weapons. Now they've got bows and arrows. Now they've got shotguns. Now they're, like, twice as big and have riot shields and body armor. And it's like, alright, like, I kind of could have been fine with them just being dudes.
I think we have post-traumatic stress based on, like, all the other games that are in existence, but I think the stealth genre people are making a mistake when they let, like, the top of a line weapons in their game be things like in Metal Gear Solid, where you can have a Fulton extraction that is like a wormhole. Like, I mean, it's great and stuff, but at the end,
that stuff comes late game. That stuff comes so late game that it's almost like the developers are like, "You're almost done here. Have some fun with this."
Yeah, and weapon wise, Tomb Raider does pretty well because you start off with like a really crappy bow and you start off with like a really crappy handgun, and the salvage stuff I think works really well, where it's like you're slowly but surely getting better equipment. I love all that stuff. I think all that works really great. I loved the story. It's one of those games, sort of like Shadow of Mordor, where it's like I found myself wanting to get every little bit of everything just to see all of it and experience all of the little bitty story stuff. And it's also, I think, a great example of like a game where it's like, okay, this isn't like the old games in the series, but it also does something new and fresh that's good. And that you build on it, because I understand that Rise of the Tomb Raider takes what they did with the 2013 game and then bumps it up to a whole new level that's supposed to be fantastic. But, it's just kind of a bummer that, the industry being the way it is, they couldn't take that gamble and do something kind of special and experimental with it, where it's like, no, we have to have this turn into a third-person shooter.
Right.
And it's not that the shooting is bad, it's not that, it wasn't satisfying, it all works really well, it's just I wish that they could have reduced that by about 60%.
Do you remember an interview a while ago? And man, I wish I could remember where I read this, because it's so freaking... It's literally become like an industry mantra now, where they were talking about developing, I think it was Call of Duty 2, or a game very similar to it. And they said, like, one of the design leads was over their shoulder while they were playing through the level, and he goes, if a certain amount of time went by without something big happening, he would start saying, "Where's my moment? Where's my thing to get my attention? Where's the big thing that happens now? Where's my moment?" That was his thing.
I haven't heard that, but Bungie is very famous for saying that they want, I think it's the 60 seconds of fun loop. Mm-hmm. Like every 60 seconds there has to be something going on. And then you just keep doing that for the entire game.
Yeah.
It's just, and there's variations, but like, basically there always has to be something happening. And I think that probably happened after Halo 1, because Halo 1 definitely has like a lot of like quiet moments where you're just moving from area to area without a lot of stuff happening.
It also has, like the library. Oh.
Right, and I never got to that level because I made a mistake on playing Master Chief where I made it too hard for myself. But I guess that does segue into the thing I was going to talk about before we wrapped up, which is I got a couple books. And I haven't read them yet, but I wanted to talk about them on the show just in case listeners want to pick them up. One of them makes sense because of Tomb Raider. I picked up Grand Thieves and Tomb Raiders, How British Video Games Conquered the World by Magnus Anderson and Rebecca Levine.
Oh,
and
nice.
This is something that I just happened to see at our local half-price books that I really am interested in reading because I know very little about the way the video game industry evolved in the UK.
Oh.
Because that's some really interesting stuff.
It is really interesting
They didn't get the NES over there.
They didn't get arcades over there.
Oh, I see. I didn't even know that.
Nope,
I just knew they didn't get the NES
systems, man.
Yeah, so it's like we have all this like fondness for Mario and Zelda and Metroid.
Yep.
But they had the ZX Spectrum. They don't care about Mario over there. I mean, they do now, but they didn't back then. So I think that's really fascinating. And of course, it's going to focus a lot on like Rockstar and Eidos because they were the big British companies over there.
I should pull that back. They had arcades over there for sure, but the arcade scene was not at all like it was in the U.S.
Right. And then the other one I picked up, and it's funny because like I just happened to see this at a Barnes and Noble, and it looked interesting. I picked it up, and it's Console Wars by Blake J. Harris. And I started to read the foreword, and the foreword's written by Seth Rogen. And I'm like, why the hell is Seth Rogen writing a foreword to this book? And then I remembered this is actually being turned into a movie that he's producing. It's all about the battle between Sega and Nintendo during the 16-bit console wars.
So Seth Rogen plays lots of video games? I love him.
Does it go into that whole court case with like, the whole Night Trap thing and they had, remember that?
I mean, I can't say because I've only read a few pages so far, but the nice thing about this book also is that it's a historical telling, but it's written as fiction in the sense that it's got a narrative. Like, he interviewed all the people involved in everything, but he crafted it into an actual story. So you get to read it like a book.
So,
like kind of Forrest Gumpish in how it plays out. All these events, but something in common that kind of glue them all together. Well, no, but I mean, it's the actual people that were involved. Right. So, right. like it starts off talking about, there's a Tom Kalinske, like the guy who ended up being the president of Sega of America. Like it starts off with like how he got the job, and like, but instead of just saying like, oh well, this man named Ted Kalinske, I forget his full name. He did this, and this. Like instead of being like that, it's like, oh well, he was taking this vacation with his wife in Hawaii because he recently left Matchbox. Blah blah blah. Like it's actually told in like a story fashion. So it's really interesting. I don't know which one I'm going to read first. I'm a little leaning more towards the one about the British video game industry, just because that's like an almost complete unknown to me. But good stuff. I'm looking forward to tearing into both of those.
Console Wars was one of like the 5 books I saw on this list of like books about video games that you should get your friends for Christmas and like that were on sale. It was kind of a hot commodity last holiday season, so if you didn't get the chance to get it, you should.
Yeah.
So my books, though, on the other hand, were Computer Systems 3rd edition, A Programmer's Perspective, and Algorithms 4th edition, because that's the shit I have to buy now since I'm in computer science grad school. But
this is totally related, but also unrelated, and I'm not even sure if you can find it. But there was a book I had to read in college for a computer science class I took called Engines of the Mind. And it was more of a historical, like, evolution of computers, like, going all the way back to 1800s, like, mechanical computers, and up from there. And it's where you learn about, like, Lady Lovelace and that sort of stuff. It's interesting. It's, like, real interesting.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
I like that stuff, especially pertaining to the video game industry. I mean, I think I've mentioned it on this show before, but I highly recommend people check out the book Racing the Beam, which is specifically about the weird way that Atari 2600 games were programmed to deal with the cathode ray tube. Like the way that like the lines would draw.
They use the raster gun to draw lines, and it's really cool.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff because like they were basically like programming these games knowing that like, okay, at this millisecond, the ray is going to be here on the screen, so we can draw this at this time, but only at this time, and then flicker it in such a way that it looks like things are there that actually aren't there.
Like, oh my gosh, like the Atari 2600 could do like 3 things. It could do player 1 object, player 2 object, and like a bar and a ball, and that was it. That was all that system would do. And then they would trick it. So, like, for example, like the vines in Pitfall are like
Pitfall Harry.
They're the ball. They're the ball.
No, they're Pitfall Harry. It's like, if I remember correctly, it's actually Pitfall Harry, like upside down and like kind of turned around to make. Oh no, sorry, not the vines, the trees. The trees.
Right, the trees are that, but the vine is ball that they just kept moving down where the raster gun was firing, so it looked like a line, which is nuts.
It's really crazy stuff, and it makes you appreciate that, like, you really need that type of television to fully get the 2600 experience. Like,
it won't work on
you lose a lot of stuff when you're working off of an emulator.
Yeah, really cool.
That just opened my mind.
Yeah, that's what we do on Nerds Without Pants. We open your mind and your zippers.
You know what really opened my mind was like when I played the ending of Until Dawn. Well, I didn't play it. I had my friend Erin play it, but she played the whole thing, and as soon as she finished, do you know what she wanted to do? Go right back to chapter 10 and play it again, like, in a different way. There's so many different...
Wait, you want to go back to chapter 10 or chapter 1?
Well, I mean, chapter 10 has so many different things in it. Like, okay, so it's a game of 10 chapters, and in the 10th one, everything comes to a critical mass, and at the end, there's like 10 or 12 different decisions you can make, it seems, that like have an effect on who lives or dies. The last 3 chapters are really important, especially, but like she did really well until then and only had like one person die the whole time because of like one shot, like when the
spoilers
coming at her.
Dude. Okay, we're going to back up and you're not going to say that. Okay? You're not going to spoil that game casually.
Oh shit, sorry, I didn't know the spoil.
What? You
talked about the plot of the... That'd be like, I don't mean to spoil anything, but the killer is, you know?
Yeah.
It's not the killer.
Dude, yes it is!
Oh, sorry.
Missing the point.
Did you not play the game?
Well, yeah.
It's like, I wonder who killed it. Oh, it's...
Spoilers.
Like, that's a big effing deal.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking of, like, I wasn't spoiling, I can spoil the other part.
No,
let's not do that for people.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean that. I was thinking...
I know, I'm going to cut all of that.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know where to go back to now, but the part I wasn't going to spoil was, like, the person, and that's what I was thinking about when I said that, so sorry.
You know what's funny? I always get... People talk about Until Dawn and Dying Light, and I always get the two confused. Just based on the name, because for some reason the names are really similar in my brain.
Yeah.
Just go... Just talk about how your friend, like, you said she was doing really well.
First, before we start, Angelo, I'm sorry about that.
Angelo's probably not going to play it, so I'm not worried too much about that. But, like, yeah, we're cutting that for the audience, because, that's my game of the year with no question, and there's no way, I wouldn't want to spoil any of that for people, because it's just so good.
Yeah, I mean, I played Bloodborne, so it's not my game of the year, but...
I did.
I mean, I need to look into that game a lot more anyway before I play it because I just don't know if it's for me. Like they were talking a lot of games that people are like, "Oh man, this game is great." And I'm like, I have no desire to engage in the mechanics of that game whatsoever. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not going to be the not a game guy. But when they start talking about her story and what it is, and it's basically YouTube search the game, I am so not interested in that at all.
Yeah, right. You know? I am interested in Contradiction, though. I want to play Contradiction.
I want to just see the videos. They sound amazing.
It's an FMV mystery game where it's sort of like a point and click adventure, but everything is done in FMV.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you can strike this from the record too, but as soon as we were done, we were looking at like my media bar, and like on the side, Erin sees the Grim Fandango icon, and she goes, "Is that Grim Fandango?" I was like, "Wait, what?" She's like, "I want to play that." I was like, "No, you know Grim Fandango?" She's like, "Yeah, it's like on my list of point and click adventures that I want to play." I was like, "Well, this is how did you know that?" This is like great coincidence. It's just on PS Plus now, and you. Well, anyway.
I'm just generally not a big fan of point and click adventures and select dialogue options games. It's
not that though. It's definitely more of like a heavy rain. I know that doesn't thrill you
doesn't help
either.
either.
But honestly, like I think that either if it goes on PS Plus or you find it cheap,
Sure,
you should pick it up and play it with your wife.
Yeah,
Okay.
you should actually have her play the whole thing.
Or that, yeah. Like
You know what? I didn't play a second of it. I was watching Erin play it, and you know what it feels like? She's a character in a horror movie.
Yeah.
I thought about doing that with Life is Strange, but I don't know how.
Oh, that's what I was thinking about getting next too.
You know, it's funny because like I just pre-ordered that game on a whim on PS4 because I was pre-ordering a bunch of stuff on Amazon, and it like I didn't realize it had already started coming out. I didn't know it was episodic, so I guess I pre-ordered like the full game on disc.
Oh, nice.
But I'm really looking forward to digging into that.
Yeah, I heard it's not
I
very
would.
good at the beginning, but then if you keep going with it, like there's a moment in episode 3 or something like that, and after that it's like, wow, this is like otherworldly. And I think that happens in a lot of time travel stuff. If you have like one or two really good ideas and people think about it like or think about life in a new way, you can like definitely catch them. Like if you've ever seen Men in Black 3, it's the best. They have like really good time travel ideas. Like if you're really entertaining and have a couple of new ideas about how, you know, space and time work, like definitely I'm going to get into that.
Did you want to pick up the Until Dawn, her doing well?
Yeah,
Oh my goodness! I forgot we had.
I thought we were speaking.
Yeah, I thought we were doing this.
No, because there wasn't anywhere to pick that back up without like.
Well, you better splice that shit in.
Some of it anyway.
I'll try, but yeah. Like,
On the Chocolate Screwed
Go.
mixtape version.
you know what I might do is I'll just keep everything in there and I'll just like completely like, you know,
Bleep out.
record scratch over your.
Yeah, that would be pretty
Spoiler.
funny, actually.
Yeah, we can play like some Kendrick Lamar or something, which I've been listening to a lot recently.
I don't know what that is. It sounds like some hipster nonsense.
He's supposed to be like the best rapper in the world right now.
It's for nonsense.
It's either him or J. Cole.
Or neither.
Who's the best rapper in the world then, Angelo?
Angelo's white.
Nate Dogg. Remember that stuff? This is back 90s stuff. That was I did listen to it when I was younger.
Yeah, you know, Nate Dogg used to
interested.
rap with Dr. Dre, and Dr. Dre produces all of Kendrick Lamar's stuff, so.
Yeah, I mean, like
I'm
that.
ending this podcast.
What's that?
I'm ending this podcast.
Dude.
All right.
Podcast spin-off, Rap Shoot,
Beastie Boys.
with Patrick.
Beastie Boys are awesome.
And Dad.
Yeah. That's right, Adam did die, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well,
And I will too if we continue talking about rap on this show. I'm just gonna eat it right here.
You-
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
just remember reading an article one time in Rolling Stone about how they used to, like, drop acid directly into their eyes from an eyedropper and then go on triple diamond downhill slopes. I'm like, you guys are going to kill yourselves. You're not
Yeah.
going to live long.
All
right, that's it, I'm done.
Music.
Hopefully you live long enough to complete this episode and continue listening. I don't know. We're done.
Oh, no.
No.
What? We're done.
Are we?
Yes, we'll just save it for next time.
Things, people.
We'll have plenty more to talk about in a couple weeks, and hopefully, if all goes to plan, we'll also have our big Star Wars Force Awakens spoiler cast, which, you know, that was like the elephant in the room that we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to let slip like what we think about the movie just surface way. Like,
Patrick,
we're just not even going to talk about it. So, yeah, thanks for listening. As always, you can find us on Twitter. Patrick.
Harrison Ford is my best friend.
Patrick.
At some boss.
Angelo.
I had a roguish ham.
You can find me at Julian_Titus. You can also find the show at NWPcast. And also, just real quick, because I don't pimp it out very often, but the wrestling podcast that I do with a friend of the show, John Golson, Slam Masters, I did an interview episode with Angelo Lane, who is an incredible indie wrestler from the Illinois region. And if you are at all interested in the plight of the wrestler, you should go check that episode out. You don't really have to know anything about her or, like her matches and stuff like that. It's really just an interesting look into the mind of someone who spends literally, sometimes 20 hours driving cross country to wrestle for, not a lot of money, only to drive another 20 hours back. It's a really fascinating interview, and you should go check that out.
I would listen to that because the soundbite you got from her earlier was awesome.
Yeah, and we threw that in there too, and she was a really cool lady to talk to, so that was a lot of fun. And this was a lot of fun, as always. So thank you for listening. We love you guys, and we're back for 2016. We got, lots of fun in store, so please look forward to it. So for myself, Patrick, and Angelo, keep it pantsless, Internet. Goodbye.
Whoa!
Ziggy played guitar, jamming good with Weird and Gilly and the spiders from Mars. He played it left hand, but made it too far. Became the special man, then we were Ziggy's band. Ziggy really sang. Screwed up eyes and screwed down hairdo, like some cat from Japan. He could lick 'em by smiling, he could leave them to hang. They came on so loaded, man, well hung in snow white tan. So where were the spiders?
So that may have ended it as a tire fire, but,
Yeah.
At least we weren't downwind of it. Like
The last 10 words, like each word was a new subject.
Oh gosh. It was like, hey, do we all have ADD? Yes, we do.